Hi, I am the Last Action Andrew, and I'm here with a Specna Arms, Rock River Arms um, airsoft gun. Um, I I'll, I had bought this piece here. It's an MCS. Really, I guess you could call it a flash hider, but it doesn't really do anything aside from look cool and be a little heavier. But what we're doing here today with this E05 from the Specna Edge series is going to be changing the inner barrel and changing the bucking and the nub. And I have here a Maple Leaf 60 degree. And I have here a Omega nub, also from Maple Leaf. And we'll be putting that inside the hop-up unit, as well as changing out the inner barrel, which this is a stainless steel ZCI barrel. 0.602 is the inside diameter, and it's 285 millimeters long, which is a little longer than the stock barrel. I have already loosened up everything, so I can just take it off and the video goes a little smoother. Yeah, let's get started. So first, there's these lugs that hold on the MCS attachment. If you just take the two off the back here and you loosen up the Allen screws on each side, which are this size, which is a 5/64 Allen. You have one here, one on the opposite side, and two underneath. And you need to make sure you have them loose, otherwise it'll grab onto the nut that's holding the inner barrel on. And once you get those loose, the forward section will come off. And normally with the E5 series, there's a silencer which makes up most of the inside of this. And I took that off to put this MCS attachment on. So we have that, and you can see that exposes the outer barrel, and this nut will unthread. And when you have that unthreaded, the outer barrel comes off. And you can take that and set it aside, and you'll notice here you have your inner barrel and the hop-up unit, which you can just barely see. And in order to access that, don't pull on this because that's being held in on the inside. You'll need to take this bolt out, or I guess you could call it a pin, which goes on the inside here.
Dad, I got your face a little.
And you'll take this off, which is I believe it's this one. Yes, that one, that's the size of that one is a 3/32, I believe. I could be wrong. I took everything ahead of time and forgot everything. So, and then this will still be in after you take this off, and you take a screwdriver or a small punch, you'll put it inside and you'll tap it out, and that will come out the other side. Whatever you do, don't hit this too hard because it'll mushroom out, and if it mushrooms out, it's not going to come out, or you'll have a really hard time getting it back in. So we'll put those aside, and then what you'll do is you'll pull the slide back and you'll pull the whole thing forward, and that will expose your gearbox and your nozzle and the whole bottom end of the workings of your gun. This little piece here will slide off and fall out. It doesn't do anything on these because they're just a model of what an actual firearm would have been. So being that it isn't an actual firearm, there's no use for this on this. Then you'll have your hop-up unit with your barrel. Now, when you want to take your barrel out, you need to make sure that your hop-up is all the way off, because the nub, this arm here, will push down, and it'll keep, there's a little hole, which I'll show you after this, there's a little hole where the nub pushes down in, And if you don't pull that all the way back off, you'll end up ripping something or breaking something trying to get this off. Now, that being said, you have to take this collar off, and I'll be right back with a tool that does that. So, I thought of everything. So, with just a small flathead screwdriver, you can get in and you pry the clip off. But try not to stab yourself or break the clip. It can be kind of tricky. I should probably have a smaller flathead. But there. And be careful because these will go flying. It's just a clip. And if they go flying, you don't have any way to lock in your inner barrel. So we'll put that aside because we'll definitely need it. Then this brass ring, which holds tension on the barrel inside the hop-up unit so it doesn't wiggle. Put that aside. And just ever so gently, oh, it came out without the bucking. There we go. If you pull it and kind of twist it, sometimes it comes out pretty much good to go. Now, the nub is inside this right here. It's on the end of this arm. Sometimes it falls out, and if it doesn't, you can just tap it, and there you go. That's your original nub right there, the stock nub. And we're going to replace that today, so we don't need that one. Now, let's start with the barrel. This is the original bucking, which we're replacing with the Maple Leaf 60 degree, and we're also going to replace that barrel, the stock barrel, with this barrel, which is stainless steel and fancy. And fancy's good. Everybody wants fancy. So these are the plugs. If you don't take them out, your gun will not fire. There's one on each end, and you'll notice here there's a divot, and then there's locking parts here. And it's slightly different than the original, but that's because it's kind of used for a variety of different guns. So as long as those are lined up, you're fine. You can see the quality difference. Stainless steel as opposed to the brass or whatever alloy it's made out of. The diameter of the inside is much tighter. Well, I guess I can't say much because they do it in like it's like 0.01 smaller than the stock one. But when the BBs are 6 millimeters and it's 6.02 millimeters inside, it's just barely enough room. And ideally, this will be some kind of an upgrade, but I guess we'll find out as far as accuracy goes. So let's start with our bucking. This is the Maple Leaf bucking. I picked this one because I went online and this is what most people are using. I don't really have any other reason other than it was suggested by a lot of different people. Now you'll see inside the bucking there's a little line. I don't know if you can see it. But that line matches up with this line inside the barrel. Okay? So what we'll do is we'll take that and we'll slide that right there, and it can only go on that way. If you have it another way, you can end up breaking or ripping your bucking or damaging something or blah 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 something. Now once we get that on all the way, it will be like this. It'll be up against that, and we're good to go. Now, that's the easy part. The hard part is the nub, and I've seen a lot of people say that they put on a little bit of grease or something to tack the nub on, but I apparently like to punish myself. So, in order to do this, you got to pull this pin out. If there's another way to do it, maybe someone knows it and I don't, but be careful when you do, because that arm will come off, and when that arm comes off, you have access to the arm there. Now, once that arm is off, you see, it's being held on here. Oh. And this is on another clip. If you push on both sides of this clip, it'll come off. Real easy. Alright, let's try. Yeah, I'll pull it from there. That's easier. Okay, so now you got that off. You got your pin, you got your arm, and this. Make sure you know which side to put that on, because you see these grooves in here. The arm will ride on that, and that's what raises and lowers the arm. So we'll put that aside. Now you'll see your ring, your O-ring here. Make sure that there is no damage to that O-ring, because it will not work right if it's not there. Now, we've got that. What we're going to do is we're going to get our Omega nub and Omega-ly put it in with Omega fingers. And if you lose it, that would not be good. So, you'll see this has a little U shape to it. And this has a little U shape to it. And you put the U shape together, boom, and it sits like that. Okay, now the tricky part is to get it back in like that. What I like to do is I put the barrel in first, and the reason why I do that, and I'll show you, is because when you put the barrel in, you can see the hole in here in which the nub goes through. And when you put this in, you gotta know which one the little hole's on. Right here, okay, so the hole in the pipe, the hose, the barrel's right there, and this one's right here. So, if it's in the right spot, the nub will go in right. Now, since we have that, we're gonna flip it upside down. And we're gonna put this on like this. Okay, and you're gonna wanna try to line it up with the hole. Okay. Then you'll take your pin and you'll put it back through. Maybe. If you can line it up. Okay. Goes right through here. If you're having trouble lining it up, it might be because it's not lined up here. So I'm going to try something else, because this is going on a little different than the original one. I'm going to put the snap ring on this and make sure, you'll see there's a line on the snap ring. That's so it snaps the barrel in place. So if you put the barrel on and it's not in the right spot, it won't click in. Okay, and you can wiggle the barrel and you know it's locked. Okay, now we know it's locked in and it's in the right spot, which means that the hole in the barrel is in the right spot. So let's go ahead and try this again. And oh, that was close. Don't breathe. Don't breathe. Okay. Now we got it. Now we'll put the pin in. I always have kind of a hard time with the pin because it's so tiny. I'm not a pro. I've just recently got into this sport. But I'm an expert at watching videos. So I learned from lots of different people on YouTube on how to do this. And that being said, if you know a better way, or I'm doing it wrong, or whatever, you are more than welcome to comment and tell me. Just make sure you keep things constructive and friendly. No need to spread a bunch of mean comments. Let's try the other direction. I think that's what my deal is. Oh, and now my nubular nub can stay in place. Okay. There we go. Was this the side I tried before or that? That is Bee-Boop behind the camera. She is my wonderful camera holder and
Very bad at
the best Bee-Boop I've ever seen. Bee-Booping. Because, oh yeah, there we go. Okay.
Mom was calling you.
We got the pin. We got the pin in. And I'm getting a phone call, so I will be right back. Mm-hmm.
She was calling you though, and then we didn't answer in time.
We didn't? Okay, so we are right back. That was quick. Okay,
Yeah.
so you see this. This has just a regular circle track on one side, and then on the other side, the track goes in a different shape. You want the one with the different shape to go here, but you also, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little tiny nub right there. It's the end of the arm. You want that to slide inside of that. So that way it rides in that track, and that's what operates the arm. Now that we have that in place, we're going to take the lock. Remember to hold this because it will push its way out. And you take your little snap and go boop, and now it works. You see the little arm? Okay. And I put this the arm all the way up, and then I'll look through. Yep, it's got a barrel. But I look through and make sure that nothing is sticking down that isn't supposed to be. And if you turn this when you're looking down it, you can actually see how it works. If you're like me and you like seeing all kinds of cool inner workings of stuff, then, you know. Now, I don't know if we need this on here, but we're going to find out. I need to take off this little rubber gasket here. I'm not even sure we need this, but just in case, I don't want to destroy it. So we'll take that off, and we'll put this brass one back on, and see if it, yep, so that fits inside there. So I think you will want to put your brass one back in. That'll keep the barrel kind of sturdy. And I'm probably going to put this rubber O-ring back on the end of this. It fits in a little groove. And that might actually hold it still inside the outer barrel. So let's see. It wouldn't hurt anything to have another one. So let's put another one on for fun, for science. Yoink. There. And we'll slide that about right there. Okay. Yeah, what do you think, Bee-boop?
Super. Bee-booper.
Super Bee-booper. Alright. Now, you put the plugs... No, I'm just kidding. Don't put plugs back in. That would not help you at all. So, now, you're going to go back over everything. Make sure everything looks good. Make sure everything's snug and you're happy with everything. Everything seems fine to me. So, I'm going to go and put it back in, which goes in here. Okay. There is... This is called the nozzle, I believe. If I'm wrong and botched it up, I'm sorry. But that will slide in here. Okay, you see, it just pushes up against, boop, and it creates a seal. Oh. Now, we're going to put this back on, which is the upper. And it can be kind of tricky because you have to make sure everything fits in right. And there's the little window here. This piece of metal is very thin and is very finicky. It does not like to be moved. And there we have it. That's in. And make sure that we have access to everything. Okay, and we do. And now we're going to put our pin back in. Now you'll notice it's got kind of a flat shape to one side. And that goes against this. You don't want the round side on that, you want this side. So to get that worked in, you kind of got to squeeze it a little bit. And it should go in fairly easy. And you see the flat side there is up against this, so there's no problem. And I like to give it a little tap just to make sure it's all the way seated. And then you'll take your little bolt and you'll put that in there. And then you'll take your tool.
A fancy tool.
Boop. And then give it a good... Don't do too tight. If you do it too tight and you strip it, you're going to have a really hard time getting it back off. If you start tightening it and it feels like it's starting to give, just stop. Stop it right there, because you don't want to either use the wrong size tool or over tighten this to the point where you strip and break things. Breaking things is fun, but not when you want it to work again. Okay, so now we have the outer barrel, which is this. And this will slide back over. Maybe. Oh, you know what? It's those rubber gaskets. They're just too much. Can't handle it. It does not like it, so we'll take those off. I thought maybe it would make it a little sturdier, but I don't think that's the case. Maybe if I lubed it up a little bit or something, it would go in, but I think I'd end up having a hard time getting it out. So I'm not going to do that. I will take that back off and save it for a rainy day.
What would it do to help on a rainy day?
I don't know. Maybe you would start leaking somewhere and you'd need a rubber gasket. Now if you look at this outer barrel, it's got a nub right there, and it's shaped sort of silly. The only way to get this in the correct way is to go with the nub up. And what that does is it pushes, there's a spring on that hop up. If you didn't see it before, it certainly is there, and it will actually go boop right into a slot right there, and that holds tension up against the hop up unit, which pushes it against the nozzle and the gear box and all that. So there's that. New barrel, new hop up, new bucking, new nub. And we are now good to go. And we're going to take your adjustable hammer and we're going to tighten that down. Again, don't go so tight you strip things. It's aluminum, and aluminum strips very easy if you let it. I will say that the outside diameter of this new barrel is just a bit bigger than the stock one, and it's also, the walls are much thicker feeling. It's a sturdier barrel. I did get a little bit longer. It was like this because there's a lot of wasted space inside this gun, and I am going to put a longer outer barrel on this so it just covers it more, but I really, unless someone else knows something I don't think it really does anything other than hiding it, maybe protecting it or whatever. But now we're going to take our forward part and slide it on, and there we go. It'll only go on one way here, and you will take your fancy little one, I believe this was 5/32, and you tighten these. I like to tighten them using the short side instead of putting it this way, because you won't over tighten it that way, or you're less likely to anyway. So you do one side, you flip it, and we'll do the other side. Alright, it doesn't take much. These are tiny little screws, and if you strip these out, you're in big trouble. Now there's two on the bottom, and that just goes in like this. Alright, and twist it, and then you'll do this one. Alright, and twist. Okay, and now it is sturdy. Okay, and one thing I like about this was kind of expensive, and really you don't need it for anything, absolutely anything, other than it looks cool. But it actually holds tension down on the foregrip here by locking in here. And what I like to do is have the last one, or the... What?
Say it's for airsoft.
It's for airsoft. Why am I saying that?
Because it's for airsoft.
It's for
And
airsoft.
Airsoft is awesome, and you need to sponsor the place you go to.
What place? Okay, we are putting this on the opposite side. These, I think, they call these lugs. At least that's what I would call them. And you take your 1/8, I think this one is, and you'll tighten it down. And I like to put this on the opposite side. So you got the head of the bolt there, and I have on the other side the head of the bolt here. So I alternate, and the reason why I do that is because I feel like it tightens it even. These ones are okay to put a little more torque on, and I usually just use a thumb and then a little wiggle. Once the tool starts to bend a little when you put it on, that's probably a good time to stop. And then this one to here. Again, aside from looking cool, I don't really feel like this does anything other than make your gun heavier. If your gun's already heavy, I don't know if you should get it. But if weight isn't a problem and you like cool stuff, then you should probably get it, because cool stuff is awesome. And like I said, I did alternating, so the bolt is on the head of the bolt is this side, head of the bolt is the opposite side, head of the bolt is this side. And I just feel like that tightens things even. Instead of having all the weight pulling on one side, it's pulling on both. And then see the tools bending a little bit, and I'm all done. Boom! Now, we've got new stuff installed. And I guess we're gonna go try it. Thanks for hanging around.
We should show them what it looks like.
What it looks like.
Like when you shoot it, yeah.
Oh, are we still recording?
Yeah.
Alright, well, we'll be back.
Bye!